humble. That make me feeling stronger. She a green rough like she nah body a rough from her body. Welcome to the Intercourse Show. I'm your host, MR.B. Today we have a very exciting show for you. We are discussing relationships, and of course, one of our best sources to have that discussion is our boy Kevin Samuels. In today's video, Kevin interviews what I believe to be a modern young Muslim woman who believes she's entitled to a high-value man. Now, she's a young mother, and she feels like that high-value man would see her as a prize and a catch. So, without any further ado, let's jump right into this video and see how it plays out. I have not seen this, so I'll be reacting as the video goes along.
Divorced, married. So I've been married for 11 years. I'm 32 now. We got married when I was 19 and a bit. Mm-hmm. And he was 24. And it was my call. I'm the one who left him. And I'm just wondering, is that the same for me to get a high value man? Would it be the same? Or does that put us on the same boat?
Well, in general, no, because men in general separate women who had children as a result of a legal marriage.
Your YouTube thumbnail can be the difference between 100 views and 1 million. Mr. Beast doesn't guess thumbnails. He has a team split testing hundreds. You don't have that team, but with click
versus women who had children in a non-traditional way, i.e. baby mama, non-state sponsored marriage, spiritual union, whatever. Men are very processed. So if you're saying you had a legal marriage,
right,
and you burst a marital certificate, dissolution, then you are in a different category from the start.
Okay.
But then it does definitely come down to the amount of children, the age of the children, the overall disposition. How do these kids act? Where the ex-husband is? Because a man is he may see you and say, I want to date you. You say you're 32, right?
Right, I am.
So that puts you as a younger, not an old woman, but you're not a young woman. That puts you firmly in, you're a woman. So a guy could say, man, and he meets you, but after they start to get to know you, all that stuff is out there. 1, 2 kids and an ex-husband. A man has to factor that in. So you mentioned specifically a high value husband. Now that is where it becomes tricky. So I got to ask you.
So basically, he had pursued his PhD. He was in school the whole time. He was already pursuing his master's when he was 24. And then he got his postgrad and just kept on climbing the ladder. And I have a bachelor's. So we both were in the education field. And he comes from, pretty decent.
But why would you want a high value man?
That is literally, I wanted a high value man when I was younger. Okay. Got one. And then when I realized that in terms of relationship and compatibility wasn't working or it wasn't healthy for the children, I decided that I wanted 2 broken happy homes instead of 1 broken.
Let me explain something real quick.
Right.
Hold on. Let me explain something very close. Just because your ex-husband has a PhD does not make him a high value man.
Okay.
I have very specific dimensions. It has nothing. High value man is not men that women tend to run from, they run to.
Okay.
So he may be educated, that's fine. But and being 24, it's hard for a guy to truly be high value in his 20s. There's a certain amount of maturity and gravitas that comes along with it. So maybe he was just educated and had earning potential. But
you mean when I first married him, or are you talking about right now?
well, that's all he had in the 24.
Yeah,
he didn't make it himself. But
right.
but you asked the question, how does it affect your opportunities with high value men, meaning in the present? Are you
Right.
still trying to get high value men?
Yes.
All right. So let me explain what a high value man is as far as I define it. A high value man is a man who meets a certain income threshold. The baseline is like $10,000 a month in Atlanta dollars and Dallas dollars. You have to adjust for whatever city you're in. He's making that money for at least about 5 years. 3 years where he's scratching the surface. That person also, other high value men look at him as a peer. He has group acceptance. He also has a network of other high value men as contacts and other people, because you can't be high value and like a loner. Meaning he also has visibility, meaning people kind of understand who he is, what he does. So you don't have to just say, I'm an entrepreneur. That's vague. And then last, he's useful, utility. He's useful to himself, others, and the group. He's not just a loner hoarding this stuff. So now that's the basic stuff. Now, there may be other things on top of that. There may be morals, principles, values that are different, but that's in general. But I got to ask you, are you talking about marrying a man of a certain income range because you want to have a certain lifestyle?
Yes, I want it to be equal to how I've been living, but I do value a good character and a person with a great foundation.
Okay, that's fine.
Primarily.
But what do you mean how you've currently been living?
In terms of, I want it to be more upper class. Like we've been living pretty well all those years.
Okay.
So
do you want to have any more children?
I would say either no, like I would be fine with not having any more children, or I would have one more and I'd be okay with that.
So do you want to have to work to pay significant bills?
Yeah, I've done both, so I'm comfortable with both as well.
I'm saying, what do you want?
I mean, I'm a businesswoman. Like I launched my own business, but I was teaching.
Do you want to have to work to pay significant bills? Meaning, do you want the responsibility of paying a significant portion of the mortgage, utilities, retirement, all that stuff?
No.
All right. So you want him to carry the financial load.
Right.
All right. So you want to be a 32-year-old divorcee with 2 kids, and you want to marry a man that has to carry the bulk of the financial load for you.
Yeah, that has the ability. Sorry, the ability. No.
The ability?
Yeah, I want him to have.
Okay,
I don't want to have to.
You can't pay, ma'am. Let's cut to the chase. You cannot pay the mortgage on freaking ability. You want potential.
Exactly. Yes. That's
okay, ma'am. Then how? Okay, so how do you put a potential meal in front of your children? I'm not trying to be bullshit, man, but I want to get to the, because see, what you're giving me is a bunch of stuff that's leading towards spirituality and mysticism, and I'm getting very real. When you put a plate in front of your, you put a plate in front of your kids. Does that has potential mashed potatoes, potential chicken, potential vegetables, or do you want real chicken?
No.
All right, so you want a man that brings real economic resources to carry the burden of the financial load.
Okay, I want to stop here and actually make a comment or two, because I think Kevin just touched upon a great point. A lot of times women, when asked what do they want, they haven't really defined what it means. I think in reality, this lady wants a man who's going to sponsor her life, a person that's going to come in and essentially cover all the bills and kind of take care of things. But when challenged, she kind of steps back, because she feels as if maybe her saying that out loud will paint her in a bad light. So then she tries to backstep, and she's like, well, I'm not exactly saying I want a man to actually pay my bills, take care of me, handle all the gross amount of the bills. I want a man who has the potential to do that. And in the moment he says, you want a guy who just has potential, that's all that matters to you, a guy with potential, she then switches up again. And she says, no, not just potential. I want a guy who, has the ability to do it. Okay. So then he says, wait a minute. Do you want to be able to just have somebody who has the ability to put food on the table for your kids? Or do you want somebody who actually puts food on the table for your kids? So one thing here to extract is that women can speak very selectively about what it is they want, and they constantly shift the marker, and they never actually say definitive things because they always want to be able to have an out so that things don't sound as bad as they, or they come across as bad as they seem. So that's what this lady's doing right now. She's just laid out by certain questions that he asked her what it is that would be ideal for her. And when challenged, she kind of backs off from it. She relents. She hesitates to say on the record, this is what I want, because Kevin is now exposing her motives, and he's not exposing the fact that she has this wish list, but is not talking about what she actually intends to bring in terms of value to the man that she says she wants. It's so easy for all of us to say, here's everything I want in a relationship. As a man, I can say, I want this for my woman, that for my woman, this for my woman, that for my woman. But I have to also understand that my woman expects something from me. We don't live in a society where the law of reciprocity doesn't, exist. For everything that you want, you have to expect that the person on the other side expects something too. In any negotiation, in relationship or in business, you have to have somewhat of a equal value in terms of what somebody's bringing to the table. So if a man is working the majority of the time and he's covering the household bills, what he would deem of equal value is coming home to a woman who has handled his personal life, who is making sure his house is maintained and taken care of, who's looking after his children and raising them up because that's his legacy. So in exchange for sponsoring and essentially covering her household expenses, he's getting a life and a family. That's of equal exchange, and this is why a man can justify doing it. But if a man is actually out doing all these things and the woman is just kicking her feet up, wanting to travel, she doesn't cook, she doesn't clean, she doesn't really do anything other than make demands, then at some point that man sees there's no return here. I don't get anything in return for all the things that you're demanding. In the same breath, fellas, if you were saying you want this from your woman, you want that from a woman, but she's the only one that works, and you don't make any effort, you don't go out and actually try to contribute to the family, in the same way, she's going to see an imbalance, and she's going to check you and say, well, wait a minute, you're not pulling your weight. I think in relationship, there has to be somewhat of an equal value. There are times where one person will be able to contribute more, and there are times where the other person will be able to contribute more. And there are times where both people are contributing an equal amount, but that's where the relationship has give and take, right? And what Kevin is exposing is that the mindset of these women is lacking flexibility, right? They look at it in absolute terms. If a man's not doing this, if a man don't bring this to the table, then that man is not worthy of me. But in the same breath, they fail to realize that they themselves are not bringing the perceived value they think they're bringing to the man. Because in the same way that you're saying, if the man's not doing this, he's going to say something similar. If she is not doing this and not bringing that to the table, then she is unworthy of me. And I think that's what he's trying to bring to the table. He always asks the question, what is it that you want? And let's actually reason out whether what you want is reasonable and achievable in the reality that you live in, or whether or not it's not, whether or not it's a fantasy. And that's what you're starting to see him expose through his line of questioning. All right, let's go back and catch some more of this.
What you said.
Dreaming of a custom home that's exactly how you want it? At America's Home Place, we've been building homes your way, on your land, for over 50 years. We're not just...
Yes.
All right. So ask yourself a question. What is he going to get for that? Because you don't even want to have any additional kids. What's he going to get from you and children?
No, what I said was that I would not be against having one more. but I also wouldn't be against not having, because I have a boy and a girl, 7 and 10.
Okay, man, but that's you. See, see what I'm trying to get to.
No, but I'm not.
Listen, don't overtalk me, ma'am. No,
Okay.
I hear very well.
No, I'm.
Do not overtalk me. Do not overtalk me. Do you not hear? Please don't overtalk me.
I apologize, sir.
You have a son and a daughter.
Yes.
But you want a man who has the ability to put you in an upper middle class life to where he can be responsible to pay the bulk of everything. So you are not ultimately responsible for a significant portion of any of it. And what I'm saying is at best, he's going to get possibly one kid out of it. But he has the responsibility for a wife and 2 children from another man. That's a bad deal. I don't care how nice your kids are, how well-mannered they are. He has all the responsibilities of a man with a wife and 3 kids, and at best he can get 1. And you are really hesitant on that 1. It's like, I'll give him 1, but I really rather it not anything. So here's basically what you're saying. I want you to come take care of me and my prince and my prince and my princess, and put us up in a nice upper middle class lifestyle, and provide for us, and we'll let you provide for us.
I'm willing to compromise. So
compromise on what? Okay, man.
I'm willing to, if he had, I don't know if I could speak, but if he was, I'm willing to, I'm a communicator, so I would love to. I'm not going to take. If we had the conversation where he said, this is what my standards are, I would say, well, these are my standards. And then we would have a middle ground.
Okay. So I have to step in and again, make a comment. See, what I think Kevin Samuels did a great job of, and rest in peace to the Godfather. He was actually, in my view, a force for good. What I think he did a great job of is to bring to light the reality of what some of these women would say. Because I think women think about things more from an emotional standpoint and not from a rational standpoint. And men think about things from a rational standpoint and not as much from an emotional standpoint. Most masculine men don't think about things in an emotional way. Not to say it doesn't exist, it does. I'm not speaking in absolute terms, but I'm saying what Kevin tried to do is bridge the gap. What he would do is ask pointed questions to women to get them to say out loud what they've been thinking, rehearsing internally inside their heads and inside of their heart. So once they say it out loud, he then takes what they've said and he says, you're saying what you want is a man who will pay the majority of the bills. You're saying what you want is a man who is a high value man, a person who earns a certain amount of money, and a person who is willing to overlook all his other options, overlook all the women with no children, overlook all the younger women who are willing to give him as many children as he wants. You want the man to overlook all of them and to choose you. And what you bring to the table is 2 kids from a prior marriage, a lot of demands and expectations, and you're not even willing to give much in return for what you're asking the man to take on. And what do you mean by that? Well, you said you don't really want to give the man a kid. Most men marry women because they want to have a family. They want to procreate. They want to, have a younger person, build a legacy. They want to start a family. The reason they are getting themselves in a position where they have financial stability is so that they could build a good family environment for their children and for their wife. Now, if he's going to marry whoever that man, that high value man is, who's worked hard and who's now at the point where he's thinking legacy and trying to build his own family, his own legacy, if he's going to take on a wife who's already got a limited belief about or limited contribution she wants to make to him, meaning she's not approaching the conversation saying, whoever my husband is, I'm willing to give him as many children as he wants, especially if he's willing to take me with the 2 children that don't belong to him. I'm willing to give him as many children as he wants. I'm willing to serve him and support him in whatever ways he sees fit. I'm willing to make sure that I keep myself attractive to him, that I am someone that is desirable in his eyes, that I'm willing to support him, I'm willing to uplift him and build him so that he can accomplish more. If the woman don't come into the relationship talking like that, what he's saying is she's coming in almost with demands and expectations that are not really realistic. She's coming in feeling entitled and not coming in feeling like she has to contribute anything. And that's the thing that I think Kevin is trying to point out to a lot of men, is that men, you have to listen not to the superficial little top level conversations you may have with a young lady that you're courting. This lady's obviously a gorgeous woman. She's beautiful for being in her, late 20s, early 30s. She's a gorgeous woman. She has 2 children. But see, the point that he's trying to make is that there's a reason why the man that gave her 2 children is also not there. And that's the thing what a lot of men miss, is that the man that decided he was going to have children with this lady didn't stick around to deal with her. What is the reason? A lot of times it's because there's a disconnect between what that man was expecting her to be as a woman and what she was expecting him to be as a man. And so that's where listening to what she says and what she wants and what she expects matters the most. If she's saying, I want this, I want that, I want this, that means you can expect for her to treat you a certain way based on what she's saying she wants, because it exposes her mind, her thinking, how she makes decisions. Those are things that men need to pick up on. And the one thing about these videos is that there's always one common thread. You can draw the same line and the same connection across the board with all the different women he interviews on his YouTube channel. The point that he's making is that if you hear carefully, you'll hear the same exact thing coming out of these women. And it's the same thing, a list of demands about what they want, what they expect from their man, but not much compromise on their part about what they're willing to give. An example he would give is when a man chooses you as a single mother to be in a relationship with you. Are you willing to step back and let that man actually parent the kid? Or is there certain lines he can't cross with that kid? And most of the women, I'm not saying all, but most of them say, no, he doesn't have a say in raising that child in a certain way. So he can't really discipline your child with another man, but you expect him to financially support your child with another man. And that's why Kevin Samuels will say this is a bad deal for a man. Because if he's taking on the responsibility of that child, he's raising that child, he's feeding that child, he's essentially supposed to be the male figurehead to be modeled as a father figure for that child. But you also deprive him of his ability to correct that child, to discipline that child as he would his own child, then that's not his child. And that's the tug of war between the relationship, because now he sees an actual limitation. If there's a conflict between you and him, he can't go and say, well, I've just invested the last 10 years raising this child. I have emotional bonds to the child. I want to still have access to the child. The court will throw that out. They're not going to hear that argument. Why? Because that's not his biological child. So when Kevin Samuel says, men, take a look at it carefully in terms of when you're dealing with a woman, listen carefully, especially if she's coming in with what he would call baggage, with additional children from another relationship. Pay attention to how she's talking. If she's talking like a woman who's willing to come under your leadership and who's willing to get under your program and who's willing to allow you the full authority you need to navigate that household, to direct that household, to put structure around that household, to build the environment for the family to grow up in, or you dealing with a woman who doesn't really intend for you to take that type of position of authority, but just expects for you to be a resource that she can tap into for provision. And so Kevin does a masterful job, in my opinion, of exposing that very fact. And for those who's got ears to hear, they'll catch it. For those who, are just looking to be entertained and who's looking to, just be triggered by certain things, they miss it. The bigger point, regardless of where you stand, whether you're a female listening to this or a male listening to this, as a female, you can be the mother of a son who has to deal with a woman who thinks like this, or the sister of a son, or a cousin of a family member who has to deal with that. So it does affect you. And as a male, you could be the person that a woman like that's trying to appeal to. So both people can benefit, both genders can benefit from the lessons that's being exposed here if you really have a heart to hear. Jesus used to say this. He said in the Bible, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. And that's what it is. When you listen into these messages, and the reason I even have these exchanges is to hopefully translate what seems to be somewhat of a combative conversation full of controversy into something that's malleable, consumable, and sensible to people listening, and to make it make sense so that both sides can understand the wisdom behind what's being said. And I think that's why Kevin Samuels was a force for good and not worthy of the criticism that he often gets from women on the opposite side of the points that he makes. All right, let's continue. I'm going in today. I'm going in.
So
okay, but hold on.
Money.
Okay, ma'am. That's not. Yeah. No. That's not compromise. Okay, compromise is okay. Compromise meaning he wants to go left, you want to go right. You say instead, let's go this way. But see, what's not compromised is who has to pay the financial responsibility.
Hello.
All right. I guess I'm just used to. I guess I got used to. My money is your money, and your money is your money. Even though
who did that though? Yeah. Ma'am, who did that? My money is your money.
Oh, it comes from my ex-husband did that, but it also comes from my religious background, and the men that I do date are only of that religious background, so they also understand that concept.
What? Muslim? Islam?
Yeah.
All right, but okay. Whoa, are you talking about True Islam or Nation of Islam?
No, not Nation of Islam.
All right, then also, then this conversation really shouldn't be that complicated, because the women I understand that are Muslim are very much know their roles. So it sounds like you have some Western Islam.
Yeah, so he was American, and I'm
talking about you.
So yeah, I'm East African, I'm Canadian.
Yeah, of course. So basically, hey, so here's what basically you're saying. Mm-hmm. The man I married and divorced provided me a certain kind of lifestyle, but he got the benefit of my womb, and I produced 2 children for him. I want you to pick up where he left off financially, but I'm not going to give you any of the shit that I gave you. I gave him my youth, my womb, and 2 children. You get nothing but the extension of the bill.
Wow.
Good luck with that. I don't care how cute you are and how many times you pray. I don't know how many times a day you pray.
No, that's real
very
talk.
Western. That's very Western.
Right.
How I'm upping my lawn game this year. I've been trying to care for my lawn myself, but it's difficult to figure out exactly.
Wow. Then what kind of conversation? What kind of conversation
is that your picture?
Having?
Is this your picture on Zoom?
Yes, it is.
How long ago did you take that picture?
About a few months ago. It's on my Instagram page.
Okay, so if you look like Gabrielle Sidibe, Precious, would you be asking for what you're asking for?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So basically, you're mortgaging your pretty. But see, the thing is, your pretty is used. No offense, ma'am. Your pretty is used. Your pretty has high miles. That's a nice body on the car, but the motor has 300,000 miles and 2 kids. Will your new husband be able to discipline those children like his own?
Wow. Yeah. So I dated a guy, and it's already aligning with what you're saying. He talked a good game, and was speaking as if it was almost like a dream-like world. And I'm a realist, so I'm not against your brutal honesty. I actually love it. I right away understood that this was a dream that he was setting me. This is selling me. This is on marketing. This is not something that is going to be real.
Yeah, he was trying to get them skins.
Right. And that is something I don't do until like marriage, which I did with my ex. So it's, yeah.
Whoa.
Totally...
Are you saying, hold on. Did you say you won't have sex until you're married?
Yeah, I'm basically a celibate.
Oh, so even better. Even better. I got to marry you and pay full freight plus 2 kids. Let me go ahead and give you the preemptive taps. There ain't that much fucking pretty in the world, man.
Right. I'm trying to be moral. I just don't want to have a baby.
No, you're not trying to be moral. You're trying to be a man. You're trying to set demands like you are somebody.
No. I've been like this my whole life.
All right, ma'am. Then you should have stayed with. If you're going to have these high demands, you should have stayed with your husband.
Woo. Okay. This leads me to the next point that I think needs to be discussed here. And what is that point? A lot of women these days believe that in dating, even though they're not virgins, they want the virgin price, essentially. This lady has 2 kids, and she's expecting a man to come in with his wallet, leading off with his wallet first, essentially. A man who's already expressing to her, that he's willing to foot and sponsor her lifestyle and take care of her and her children. I'm sure before she would marry any man, she would want to see some sort of demonstration that that man's willing to take care of her, willing to take care of her children, willing to, do everything that she would think a man worthy of her should do. But in exchange, she don't want to put nothing out on Front Street. He can't get no buns, no love. She's starving him out, essentially, for of affection. So she's got all these demands about what the man has to do in order to qualify for her. But the man doesn't even get her affection leading up until the point that she's his wife. Now, here's where with this particular topic, and it's controversial for a lot of people, right? And I think there's some mix-ups here, some misunderstandings, okay? So most men get in a relationship with women, and I think the appeal of the monogamous relationship is that in one person, you're going to find all the qualities you want as a man, and all your needs will be met through this one person. That's the whole appeal of a monogamous relationship. So the woman leads you to believe that when she's with you, she will be everything you need. She will be your one-stop shop for affection. So she doesn't want you outside dealing with this lady and that lady and this lady. She just wants you to come get affection from her. She wants you to see her as a confidant, a person you can rely on. She wants you to see her as a friend, a supporter, a helpmate. But while she's making these demands, she's also telling you what you cannot have and what the conditions are for you to have it. So for a person who's already had sex, for a person who's already been outside, who's got 2 children, and who's dating, who probably just recently had sex with somebody other than the man she recently divorced, she now wants to set these new parameters as if she's a virgin, as if she's never had sex before. So you have to value it like that. And what Kevin is saying is, while you think that's a good value proposition for a man, it actually is a turnoff, a major turnoff, because most men don't want to play that game. Like, you expect me to sponsor you, pay your bills, take care of you, look after the children that's not mine. I don't have the authority to actually discipline the children, but I'm still responsible for making sure they live a good life and that I pay for their well-being and upbringing. I got to stand in the gap with you. And then you are essentially waving the box around like a dangling carrot, saying, the moment you put a ring on it and commit to me in a way where I will now be entitled to half of everything you have, in a way where there's these no-fault divorce situations where you're incentivized to actually leave me once I foolishly marry you, and where statistics say that the divorce rate's higher the second time around as it is the first. This woman has already admitted that she is a divorcee, so she has no problem walking away from her relationship the moment it doesn't suit her. But a man would step into that and not at all get anything in return. So he's not really getting any affection. He's not, because she's withholding sex because she wants to save herself for marriage as if she's a virgin. He's not really getting much of a say in terms of how the kids are going to be raised that he's financially now responsible for. And just because she's cute, she believes that she can make such demands. Now, in a world that exists where the ratio of women exceeds the number of men, a man with means and who's decent looking, who knows at least how to take care of themselves, who knows how to do a couple of things in this world, i.e. how he became high valued, who essentially has a plethora of other women soliciting him to be a choice, and who doesn't have those restrictions, the choice is very easy. He's not going to put up with this lady making these demands while somebody is willing to completely do and comply and provide him with more of the needs without as many restrictions. And I think that's why you have a lot of women, they all find themselves disappointed. Why? Because they put unrealistic expectations on a man. Even if a man was to go along with that, most of the time, he's going to be cheating on you, miss. The reason why is because here's a man with needs today. He's not waiting until y'all get married to fulfill his needs. He's really don't have much of a say. And there's other women like, hey, I want to be a wife too. And I'm willing to put out. I'm willing to have sex with you. I'm willing to cook you a meal. I'm willing to do all these things. I don't have any kids. I want to have kids. I'm willing to follow your lead. I don't have demands. You know what I'm saying? That becomes very appealing and tempting for that man to gravitate towards, even though you may not be aware of it. He's wearing his options too. That's sort of the newsflash. Men have options too. The only reason he's willing to cheat is because possibly one of your friends wants the perks you're trying to vie for, that you're competing for, and they'll be willing to give him whatever he wants so they can get the perks. So a lot of times these decisions and these demands are very unrealistic, ladies. I don't personally think it's wise to lead off like that. Now, there are some men whose religion and moral compass will be willing to withhold from sex because they want to make sure they build the proper core values with you. And for those who are willing to do that, more power to them, right? But at the same time, if you don't live by the standards, this holier than thou standards that you proclaim to be living by, then it's hard for you to even be perceived as a credible religious person, whatever the religion may be, Christian, Muslim, whatever, in that man's eyes, right? Like, don't pretend like you are now, your faith is preserving your sexual decisions in one instance, but then in another instance, you violate that essential principle whenever it's convenient for you to do it. And then you expect that man to be a person who honors your religious principles when you yourself don't honor your own religious principles. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of hypocrisy with that. And you will see the conversation will take a turn as Kevin is now starting to see an element of delusion in this lady. The delusion is that I get to make these demands, this wish list, And then I am not even going to give that man any affection. He's got to wait for marriage, of which point, whenever he violates the marriage, I am now entitled to half his shit, which again is not a good value proposition for a man. He is in no rational person would say this makes sense. I'm going into a relationship where I have more restrictions, less freedom, less authority, and no perks. And I'm happy. Doesn't exist. It sounds like you could just move back in with your mother for all of that. That's what happened in your mother's house. You can't go out when you want. You got to commit. You got to restrict. You got to respect her rules. You got to do all of that. If you a grown man and you trying to start your own life and build your own family, you not trying to go into a situation where this woman gets to dictate everything you can do and tell you all the things you can't do, including touch her. And that's the whole reason why you're there. It's to have access to one person that you could be affectionate and sexual with. But this lady thinks that this is appealing to men. It isn't, because a lot of us don't believe you. We don't believe you this virtuous, flower that's been untouched. Miss, the facts show that you've already been outside. There's nothing to see here. There's nothing new under the sun. Your box is not that unique that, the man's now going to jump through hoops in order to get it. He's bartering against himself to get access to you when you made no other man do that. It's not a good value proposition. And what Kevin does is he, without emotion, exposes the absurdity of this demand. It's like, miss, do you hear how this sounds? It doesn't sound rational. Not for older men. Like, maybe you can get off on that for a younger, more naive man who's not as experienced and who's not informed about who he is and what he has available to him. But for an older man who's been around the block, he's not really going for that. So he had to break the news to her.
Yeah, no, I wanted peace of mind.
Okay, well then you got peace of mind and you'll die alone. By a dog, because this is the open market. They don't have to care about your guy.
If I do get married, I will Zoom you again and make sure
No. You won't get, I would tell you this. You won't get married to a man the caliber you talking about.
We're Phoenix Energy, a family-owned oil company focused on unleashing American oil from North Dakota and Montana. We've already sold over 2.9 million barrels, creating steady jobs for hardworking folks chasing the American dream. You can.
I would bet a lot on that, because the men that you're talking about don't have to take a 32-year-old woman who ain't gonna have sex with them until they until they're legally married. And then know that at best they might get one kid out of it. Why would I do that? Why would they do that when in your religion they can go get a young woman with no children?
They do that in my religion all the time, though.
Why would they do that? And they could go get a woman with no children, and they can have multiple children. See, what it is, man, is unfortunately you left your husband, right?
Yes.
Where in Islam are you allowed to leave your husband?
Yeah, we are allowed. There's conditions.
Right, I know. And were those conditions met?
Yes, not in terms of emotions, no.
Well, then those can. So the divorce decree, the dissolution of marriage, was for what reason?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The divorce decree was for what reason?
I mean, we did fall in love, so we. But
no,
it was
ma'am.
a while.
No, ma'am. In Islam,
we grew up apart.
Okay, but for the Muslim, if you're telling me for the Muslim men I know, women in Islamic countries don't file for divorce. That's a Western thing.
I lived overseas in Saudi Arabia for 4 years.
Exactly. So you want exactly. So again, what I'm getting at, ma'am, is thank you for Western women and women in general, but especially in the West, you have the uncanny ability to try to use everything to your advantage. I'm a Muslim when it fits me, but I'm Western when it suits me. See, you file for divorce from your husband, but if you were in Saudi, could you have left your husband on the grounds you left him here?
Yeah, so that's what my point was. When I was overseas, there were Saudi women that were having a tough time getting out of that because of their culture, not because of the religion. In our religion, yes, you can file for
good
divorce.
luck. I put it to you this way, ma'am.
It's a lack of
I put it to you this way, ma'am. You sound, first off, I'll tell you this, ma'am. You may be a lovely, fun person, but as dominant as you sound like a whole headache. And you may be Muslim.
I just think you don't understand the religion, and that's
I do understand. I do understand a bullheaded woman when I hear one. That's why I've had to mute you. Ain't nothing Islamic sounding about you. You sound just like any old Western feminist to me. Go ahead and unmute yourself. You can't talk over me. I've already said that 3 times. It won't be a 4.
Oh my God.
You can unmute yourself. Mm-hmm. See, what a lot of these women try to do. Oh, no, you can't do that. Bye-bye. See, ladies, understand why men don't want to deal with women with children. This woman who was, if that's her picture, she was pretty, but there's not enough pretty to deal with that. Who thinks that she was a demure, loving, inspirational Muslim wife, dutiful? She couldn't even control herself on the panel. Yet you want somebody to come along, wait until they're married to have sex with you while looking at 2 hungry mouths they got to feed, knowing that they probably won't even get 1 kid. Who thinks that woman really wanted to have additional children? I heard her what she said. What she's looking for is an old sucker. She's looking for a man who's an old sucker, who's already got kids. He's in her mind, he's the younger the better, but he needs to already have kids. She's looking for a divorced man or guy to be his second wife. But I'm gonna tell you, second husbands don't pick up used luggage. They're gonna go get new luggage.
Oh my God.
She's trying to play 1960s and 70s game in 2020, and it won't work. Think a man's gonna wait to have sex with you? Out of your fucking mind. And then they're not even gonna get a kid. If they do get 1 kid out of the deal, she would dangle that kid over that guy like the sword of Damocles. And who thinks that she would stay in that marriage? She'd have another 18 years worth of child support and alimony to dangle over this dude, child support from this one, and then she could have her own middle-class lifestyle. Yeah, we see y'all women coming a mile away. You ain't getting my boys. That shit don't work on my dudes. Blake, the Henrys, that don't work on them. And the damn sure don't work on high value men because they see you coming a mile away and can diagnose you. That's why being in the danger zone is so dangerous. You lived enough life to where you're starting to try to manipulate men instead of trying to come into it saying, you know what? I'm a divorcee with 2 kids. And my backstory does not sound very good. Where can I get in where I fit in to try to see if I can restore and live the rest of my life in peace and harmony with a man? And if he would be willing to take on me and my children, no, you're acting like you up here and you doing somebody a favor because what? You cute? Well, notice when I asked you, if you were Gabrielle Sidibe, would you have this kind of demanding price? No. Ain't that much pretty in the world, man. This is a very, very good show. The Single Mother series. The Single Mother series is going to be a hit because we are going to have to talk about this because far too many women mess around and have a child and then want a man to have to pay. So, excuse me. Why is high value men so important? Because the only men that make the kind of money these women are looking for are men of a certain economic status. These women aren't looking for men making 40 or 50,000. They're looking for $100,000 plus men to take on the financial burden of her and her children. You guys have heard it. So miss me with all this. Everybody don't have to be high value. And look, 6 months of shows, and I don't begrudge women for wanting what they want. I just say, what are you bringing to the table? What do you want? And having a child lowers your value. And what I'm seeing is far too many women are having a real problem accepting the fact that their children are not special to anyone except them and their family. And I know that hurts. Your children are special to you and yours. To us, they're just other people. And to men, they are a liability. You think a man wants to get out and take what it takes to go make himself in the top 10% of men, and they want to have to talk about another man?
Watching the artist.
You mean I got to take on you and your kids? So that means your ex is going to have a child in my house. So that means he's going to be calling on the phone. So you sitting down watching TV, the phone ring. Oh, your dad wants to talk to you. Her dad wants to talk to her. Hell no. Men don't want that. Oh, his dad wants to talk to him. And then inevitably you've had children for bust down dudes. See, what you rarely hear is women who have had elite level men or even above average men to where they can say, the least I'm making the lateral move. Why is the first question I ask, what does your ex do? And it's always these shady kind of, you don't have, that's what, let me make it real clear. Ladies, whoever your baby daddy is the top line of what you qualify for. How about that? Whoever your baby daddy is, that's the top line of who you qualify for.
That's a gem.
That's it. So if you didn't have a baby for a millionaire, stop trying to get a baby stop trying to get millionaires. If you had a baby for a grandma living in his grandma's house, dude, then that's what you get.
This conversation centers on expectations versus reciprocity. The caller explains that she wants a high-value man, saying she previously married someone with a PhD, but claims he wasn't good for family life. Kevin immediately challenges that definition, arguing that credentials alone don't equal a high-value man in his view. It's about long-term earning ability, usefulness to society, and recognition among peers. The tension rises when she says she doesn't want more children and expects a future husband to carry the full financial load. Kevin pushes back by asking a direct question. What exactly would the man receive in return? From his perspective, a relationship built mainly on financial expectations without clear benefits for the other partner becomes an unbalanced deal. The discussion becomes even more complicated when religion enters the conversation. She references religious ideas about finances and marriage, but Kevin argues that selectively applying those rules creates contradictions. By the end, the core issue becomes clear. Wanting a high-value partner requires understanding what that partner would realistically expect in return. What's up, y'all?
Okay, there you have it. That was the Kevin Samuels video interview I saw for the first time, and I think it's been summed up. Shout out to Mental Groove. That's a good channel over there. They're doing some good work, and as you can hear his summary of the video himself, it was pretty good feedback that I hope you guys get to extract something from. There's plenty of lessons to learn from this video. And what he's trying to do here is say, let's be realistic about how we are dealing with each other. If you are a woman that knows you're coming into a relationship with more baggage than other women would have, be more compromising, don't be more demanding. And what you're hearing is almost entitled mindset, where women feel like they can demand absurd things for men and not plan to really give up much in return, as if they have that much leverage. And what Kevin does is he brings them back to reality, right? If these women were having their way, then all of them would have been married to a millionaire already. I think another great key point that Kevin made is whoever it is you had children with, that's probably your top bar in terms of what you should expect to get. Is it true? Who's to say? I don't know. Maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe there isn't some truth to it. But I can probably guarantee you it's probably generally true, more so than it's not true, right? There are some women that break the mold. Maybe they had kids young with a younger, immature man, or with somebody who wasn't mature, and, you know, luck has it they meet somebody of better quality. It's happened. But I don't think that represents what majorly happens most of the time, right? I think more often than none, you tend to not break through and get better than what you've started off with. And so he's trying to say, just be realistic. And if you think you are going to do that, at least be more, offer more to the men that of that mold than you did to the men that you gave the child to, right? Don't bring the same attitude you had when you was dealing with the first baby daddy to the next guy you trying to have take on the responsibility of the first guy. You should be a better woman in order to attract a better man to take on you and whatever comes with you. So that's just some feedback. But also it's a area of caution for most young men who's out here grinding, trying to get to it, and even older guys who's continually to work on themselves. Now, a lot of this message is in these videos and in these shows are not for the people who's not doing anything with their lives. I'm not here saying all men are good men. There are plenty of men who are busters, who don't stand for anything, who have no principles, who just goes outside and just have a bunch of children and don't care nothing for them kids and don't care nothing for them people they having the kids with. I am not advocating for those men, but I am advocating for the men who are serious, who do have some type of relationship with God, who are pursuing a better life for themselves and for their family, and who are making something of themselves. Why work that hard to do that only to settle for a woman who is not elevating you as you should have yourself elevated? So what he's saying is, don't put all this work in yourself, build yourself up to where you would be considered a high value man, only to settle with a woman with a poor mindset who's going to put you more in troubled times than blessed times. That's all he's saying. And I think anybody and everybody should be able to relate to that. All right, folks, that's it for me. That's my hour of power. I hope you guys was able to get something fruitful from this conversation, which is why I encourage you to stay connected to the channel, The Intercourse Show. We have a lot of conversations here about things that matter, real world events, religion, politics, business. We try to cover the whole gamut. There's times where I'll tackle it myself. There's times I'll bring a panel on, but we want to get a wide range of viewpoints just so that we can hopefully give something back to the listeners that is going to help them grow in the ways that they want to grow. So I ask that you guys join the community, stay connected by liking and subscribing, hit the notifications so you get notified when a new video comes out, but also weigh in, comment, let me know what you think. Are we offline here? Is there some perspective we missed? Add to the conversation and let's continue the conversation. With all that said, I thank you guys truly for joining me and sharing this last hour with me. I appreciate you. And until we meet again, I pray that God bless you. All right. Have a blessed day. Yours truly, Mr. B. Talk to you later. Bye.